In this video, I will talk about mosaic knitting. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I put out new knitting tutorial videos every Friday. Please like and subscribe. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. I'm so happy to have you here. Mosaic knitting is a subset of slip stitch knitting. There are certain rules that you must follow in order for your knitting to be mosaic knitting. Rule number 1 is that only one color is used per row. The working color is used to knit the pattern stitches and the other stitches are slipped. Therefore, you're only holding one yarn at a time. The second rule is that 2 rows in a working color are worked before moving to the next color. The third rule is that the second row is identical to the first row of each color. So to be more specific, the first row you will follow your pattern and you will knit your working yarn stitches and slip the other stitches. Your second row will be identical to the first. You will work the stitches that were previously worked and you will slip the stitches that were previously slipped. Now, whether you are knitting or purling will depend on if you are working in a garter base fabric or a stockinette base fabric. Here is the same pattern worked in stockinette and worked in garter. The only difference with these is in this one you are knitting every row, and when you slip you will slip the stitch with the yarn held to the wrong side of the work. So when the right side is facing you, the yarn is held to the back. When the wrong side is facing you, the yarn is held to the front. The only difference here is all right side rows were knitted and all wrong side rows were purled to produce stockinette fabric. All other slipping is the same. So that brings me to the other rule, is that all stitches that are slipped with the yarn held to the wrong side of the work. Another rule is that the first and the last stitch of every single row is always worked with the working yarn. You are always knitting that stitch or purling that stitch. This anchors the new color on either side. Because of the nature of mosaic knitting, any number of stitches can be used and the knitting will work out. Because the second row is precisely the same as the first, you can cast on any number of stitches. You will knit the first and the last stitch of the row. You will work the pattern in the middle, and your second row of that color, you are just working the worked stitches and slipping the slip stitches. So you don't need to worry about a stitch multiple. Now, if you do want to center your motif in a piece of fabric, you will need to do some calculations to figure out your ideal stitch number in order to center a motif. But it is not required. Mosaic knitting is very geometric because of its nature. Stitches are slipped, so you get 90-degree angles along these slipped lines, which makes for very geometric patterns. When you work in stockinette versus garter, most mosaic you will see is in a garter base fabric. It's very textured. It helps with the geometric feel to keep everything square as opposed to rectangular. You can work it in stockinette, however. Notice this is the same motif. This is, because of the nature of garter, is smushed, so it's more of a square, whereas in this one it is elongated. Some mosaic designs lend themselves really well to color play. So this is an example of an inverse type pattern where the same motif is repeated in the light color and the dark color. So there's a blue square and a yellow square and a blue square, and there's a yellow outline and there's a blue outline. So this can be quite fun. Most mosaic knitting is seen in at least 2 colors. Because of the geometric nature of mosaic knitting, you can also get these rotational symmetry patterns. So this is an example of a motif where it is the same pattern no matter which way it is rotated. Which can be quite fun as well. When dealing with color changes at the edges, be sure to be consistent with how you are dropping the old color and picking up the new color. As long as you are consistent, you will get a nice looking edge along the color change. And that will be present only at the right edge and not at the left. So that is an overview of mosaic knitting. Be sure to watch my next video, which will be about reading mosaic charts. I hope this was helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.